This is the Sports Hit List by the fans for the fans.
So it was a little bit of a misstep for me. Definitely, like you said, a shit show. So grade it. If we were doing that, it would get, I don't know what you would give it, but maybe like a D from me. It was pretty poor showing, honestly.
Well, a D is being, yeah, I guess a D would be how I consider a D, right? Because you've been in my classes and understand my grading system. A D is just showing up. Like at least if you showed up, to me, you get a D, right? And if you do
Hmm.
minimal work, you get a D. A failure is not handing in anything at all. But I thought, and I think I've discussed this, and shout out to Charlie Baldy, who's a member of the Hitler Streets, another former student of mine. We were talking about it, and he's very media savvy. He said the show felt like it was catering to a new audience. There were a lot of references where Michael Cole had to explain, and another friends were saying Michael Cole had to explain a lot of things,
Hmm.
right? So it felt like it wasn't for us diehards. The show, if you're presenting it to globally worldwide, I guess Netflix wanted to present like having The Rock come out and be a good guy. And as much as I hate the final boss, I admitted last night, I'm like, the final boss would have been dope last night, right?
Yeah.
And we never got it. I had a big gripe, and I knew they lost me too with the Hogan segment. Was just like that was such a missed opportunity, and I guess maybe they didn't want to get political, but that's the perfect time to get it. And clearly, why the fans didn't they booed Hogan, given the fact that they were in California, who he voted for. It was natural. It wasn't because of Hulk Hogan booze. It was like kind of like Terry Bollea booze,
Yeah.
So there was a missed opportunity there. It felt like it was just too goody goody.
Yeah, and it also felt like you said, it wasn't really for the hardcores like us, and it was for new viewers, but at the same time, I mean, I always remember the story you told me. You're a kid, you're switching through the channels, and you see Undertaker with some dude in a body bag, and you're hooked. We didn't get that last night. Last night it felt so cut and dry, so easily paint by numbers. The Roman match at the start felt like should end the show. Like if you turn on wrestling for the first time and you're seeing all this interference, they're going right out to the floor, bouncing off the table, everything like that. It could, it, you know, it was less of like intrigue. It was less of like, oh, these guys are saying stuff. I want to see what happens. And it was, you know what I mean? It was more of just kind of, I don't know. It felt like just watching a couple of video game matches on TV. I don't know. It didn't really come through for me. There's a couple things I liked. I liked the tight entrance ramp. I think that looks real cool with the guys coming down. I guess the new ref uniforms are kind of nice. They look like middle management at a kayak rental club. Uh, but just the whole feel of it was, I don't know, it's just something felt really off to me about it. There wasn't that one moment that people are going to talk about. There wasn't that kind of, The Rock didn't, give Roman Reigns a rock bottom and set something up that made you want to keep watching. There was nothing that really, it was just kind of just happened. There was nothing that really hooked me. I don't know how you feel about that.
Can't put my finger on it. I mean, part of me was in and out of sleep, and my wife was like, "You were so hyped. You were so hyped about this." And I said it was to the new audience. And when Charlie said it, I was like, "He's right."
Hmm.
Everything was goody goody. You had all the faces really win.
Yeah.
And there was really no like the most heel you got was New Day, and they cut them off. Um, but Charlie was also talking from a production quality. He was saying how um, you know, they kept going to the crowd and they cut like they waited too long on the applauses. The lower thirds weren't coming in properly. Um, there was a lot of promotional material for ads, which
Yeah.
in the ring,
Oh God.
I was in so many group chats and we thought Logan Paul was gonna, it was gonna be his opportunity to cut Cena off, but then they go to Logan Paul after,
Yeah.
so like I said, I felt like it was just cookie cutter. And as much as I'm a cookie cutter, guy who loves the good story and I love the cheesy moments. It wasn't it last night. Like I was really waiting for Paul Heyman to just be like, kick Roman or something or something crazy
Yeah.
happened. We just didn't get it.
Instead of that, you had them continuously going to the crowd, pointing out, various celebrities, and then actually introducing you to other, yeah, superstars like, LA Knight, Braun Breaker, Rey Mysterio. That was a beautiful Eddie tribute from him. I was glad to see that. But that they spent so much time on that they didn't spend time on actually telling their stories really in the ring. It was a 3 hour, a little bit over 3 hour show. You only had 4 matches, and there were barely any other segments, like you said, except for the New Day. And they didn't even they got cut off and told, you guys don't get to speak. Bye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
Even
was
the
also
Undertaker
weird.
too. Yeah, and then
Undertaker riding past Ripley. I'm glad he came back and did something with her. I thought he gave her the cold shoulder at first. It was weird. The optics didn't work out great, I don't think.
but it
But
was but it was completely random. So I guess, do we give WWE a pass because you're introduced again? We understand the media side of the business. Some fans may not see it that way. They just want what they want, right? Understanding the media, you're introducing to a global platform. You're introducing this new product to a lot of audience members who probably don't know what it is. Would we give them a pass and say, okay, it's the first episode. Um, you know, this is how you would present it. This is what Netflix wanted to introduce the product to new fans, or are we not giving them the pass because we know we can see better?
I mean, I'll always give you a pass for the first show, I guess, but it really is going to depend how they continue this. I read it online that, Raw could be 40 minutes, it could be 4 hours. There's really not going to be a set time to it, according to Triple H. I just want to see more drama, more angles, a little bit more of the soap opera, because without that, I don't know. It felt lifeless. When you have The Rock coming out and thanking the Netflix board, and you have Hulk Hogan coming out amidst booze trying to push his beer. You know what I mean? It felt like a cash grab. Even WWE themselves were like, "Oh, it's the highest grossing, gate we've had," which is basically just, we charged you so much for these tickets, and we're going to give you 4 matches, and none of the matches are really going to be that memorable. I mean, we haven't talked about Punk or Rollins or Jay or Drew, because really they were okay. They were kind of somewhere in between a Raw match and maybe a pay-per-view match. They wanted Punk and Rollins to be, I think, better than it was. And I'm a CM Punk guy. I just didn't really, the match didn't really do much for me. It seemed like they were just spamming finishers right off the bat, and just, it felt like a video game, like, oh, I'm going to steal your finisher again. So it really was a dull kind of dud of a show. I just want to see, because I want to see a little more of that, classic WWE Raw presentation. I want to see a tag match in there. I want to see some undercard matches. You can't just have 4 big matches and then just show me, Topanga from Boys Meets World in between and hope it's okay. It's not gonna work.
Well, prayers to her. I think she's recovering from breast cancer. I just saw a
Oh, is
photo
she?
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
good.
Well, no, that's a. I didn't even know it. My wife saw her on. Like, my wife was in and out, and she's like, "Oh my God, she just recovered from, like, she just had breast cancer." But aside from that, I'm not giving them a pass. I'm sorry. I believe part of a challenge is when you're producing media, you have a lot of audiences you have to cater to, right?
Mhm.
We always say you cater to the kids, you cater to the adults, you cater to the OGs like us who've been watching and understand the product, you cater to your newer audiences. So I think there was a missed opportunity. If you have 3 hours to book a show, yes, clearly maybe Netflix made the call about, hey, this is what I want. I want you to do this. I want you to be happy, go lucky. But there should have been some pushback in saying this is not who we are.
Yeah,
And you've been building us to this moment where, okay, you have 4 matches. You could have had a little bit more matches than 4.
yeah,
I felt like, Braun Breaker hasn't been seen on television in any form of useful ways in weeks. Why isn't the Intercontinental Championship? Why is and somebody else in my group chat said, I think it was one of my good friends, Ziggy, said, why is your world champion not even featured? None of your world champions were really featured. Cody got 2 minutes on the show, and that was a run-in. And
yeah.
where's and Gunther got a promo. So where are you trying to introduce who's your top dog, who's your champion on your flagship show? There were a lot of missed opportunities. And again, I hate to sound like a dead horse, but the Hogan angle, like, I'm gonna try to set my personal feelings aside about Hogan. But in that moment, I thought Hogan could have just turned into Hollywood Hogan. He could have just flipped it on the crowd. And then the minute he did that and embraced the booze, it probably would have got him to sell more beers anyway.
Yeah, yeah. No, honestly, I was hoping he would actually, say something about it, because there's nothing more cringe than being like, "Oh, you all love me," when everyone's booing you, and it's clear. It's there. It's not like a 60-40 split. It's 80-20, 90-10. You know what I mean? Like you can't just go out and do that. I was cringing the whole time. I was like, "Oh, just get this guy off the screen." Like,
Yeah.
he's it. It's over for
Yeah,
him. You know?
Yeah, it was terrible. But again, he didn't, like I said, I know someone, I don't know if they could have called an audible or spoke to him. They could have easily called an audible. He could have been like, all right, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna flip the script on them. And him flipping the script would have been probably the best thing he could have did, and going whole Hollywood and just being like, you know what? Forget you fans. Hollywood Hogan is here. Like it would have just been
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like magical. But like I said, I think the cookie cutter didn't work for
Yeah, we
us
didn't get
diehard.
anything like that. You know,
No.
we didn't get any. And kind of to you, it felt very cookie cutter. It didn't feel like you're supposed to simulate real combat and real. You know, it's supposed to feel real. It didn't feel real. It felt very corporate, very sanitized, very much for the Netflix. You know, producers who you know are here there for the first time, and like that's the thing. Like, why not open the show with a tag team match, you know, New Day versus LWO or something like that, something fast paced with high flyers, something to get the crowd going. Instead, you open with, you know, a match that doesn't start for over a half hour since the show starts, and then it's a bloodline rules match. It's the same thing that happens every time. It's 20 minutes of just kind of banging around and then interference and then a finish. And having like KO jump in, it was overbooked and everything like that, just to kind of throw some things at you, I guess. But it just none of it worked for me. And it all was the good guys win. No one turns on each other. Everything's all fine. And like, what do I have to look forward next week? All the Beast plots they're also pushing at the same time, which is, you know, Damian and Finn and everything like that. But nothing from this week made me say, oh, I have to tune in next week. There wasn't that body bag moment. Didn't
Right.
happen.
No, but I think the goal was, again, you can have two separate goals because clearly they know the diehards like us will come back next week and watch. This is just to try to get their newer audience to say, okay, is this something I want to subscribe to on a weekly basis to watch? Which I understand. I just hope Netflix producers don't have their handprint on it and think and believe this is what we want as fans. Because no, this is not going to work for me every week.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
like again, and it's kind of you what's the word I'm looking for? You're kind of contradictory in a sense because in Triple H's opening montage, he talks about a heel and a face, and there was no heel action
No.
whatsoever
Yeah.
in this show. Like there was a sprinkle of it with the bloodline interfering, but it really didn't give that good guy, bad guy kind of story, like a villain, you know, like a protagonist, antagonist kind of feel. It wasn't there.
Thanks for watching the Sports Hit List. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In fact, do it now.